the easiest way is if you go to your requests, and remember, this is just our standard baseline of request. We didn't break anything or figure out any passwords yet. We can right click it and hit send to Intruder. Now go in your Intruder tab, and you're going to see this tab by default. This is just the one it gives you. So you can click out of that, and we see that we now have the information, and it filled some of it in already for us. This is the host. In other words, this is the server IP address, and this is the port that we're trying to attack. So pretty cool. If we ever want to change it, we can. For example, if we didn't even make that baseline request and we just want to attack some server that we found online, but whenever you right click it and hit send to Intruder, it already fills in the correct IP address and port for you. So now once that's taken care of, hop over to position. So from here, what you can see is that baseline request. So this, what you're looking at, is the exact same thing as this. The request that you made was just the normal login, B, and password. B and password, right like that. Now let me hop back to Intruder and I'll show you guys something cool. Well, actually a bunch of stuff cool. So why are some of these things highlighted right here? Well, what these little highlights mean, these weird little S symbols, are in between the S symbols, or whenever you see some of these symbols, these are markers of potential injection points, potential areas that you can attack. Now, whenever we're trying to crack a password, what's going to happen is we want everything else to stay the same except the password. We don't want to mess with the username, we know that's right. We don't want to mess with the session ID in case it boots us off. Security level is fine. All we want to do is we want to cycle through a list of passwords and change this password parameter right here. So right now it's set up where it's going to try to change everything. So if we just clear that, then what we can do is we can highlight password and hit add. So now that we have those cool little markers around password, then what this is going to do is eventually we're going to give it a list, and I'll show you guys how to get a list of passwords in just a second. But it's going to go through that list one by one, and that list is going to be something like A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, password. It's going to have like 5,000 different potential passwords in it, and for each item it's going to plug it in here, send the server the request, in other words try it, and look at the response. Now most of the time we're going to get a response that resembles this, but hopefully one of the times we're going to get a response that's a little bit different, and that is whenever we guess the correct username or we cause a bug. So that's what we're trying to do. Let's do it. And by the way, I'll explain what all these other options mean real quick. I just want to give you guys a real brief overview, because instead of just going through talking to you guys about all the options, it's kind of hard to understand if you don't see in action first, so don't worry. But for now, let's go hop over to payloads. Now, whenever you hear the term payload, a payload is pretty much a vulnerability that you want to test. It's a list, or usually a list, of a bunch of different things that you're going to throw into the server and see what happens. So Burp Suite already has a bunch of payloads built in, so if you select passwords list, check out all the passwords that we're going to try. So this is one sample of the default password payload list that already is built into Burp Suite. However, you can go ahead and add your own, or if you want, you can find them online. So again, what this is going to do is, now that we gave it a payload list, for each request that it makes, and in this list there are 3,424 different passwords that we want to test, it's going to make that many requests to the server, and each time is going to go through the list and plug in this new password, whatever value, right here. So how do we run the test? Well, all we have to do is go up to any of these tabs and hit start attack. So it's gonna go finding all my passwords, seeing if anything breaks, looking for bugs, cracking passwords, have a good time, and come on, Haas, come on. So that's actually pretty cool. This is a lot faster than, typing it in manually. So it's going to complete in just a second, and once it's done, it says finished. Alright, what the heck are we really looking for? How do we know if it actually worked or not? Well, one of the main things that you always want to do is you want to check the length. Now we know that for the baseline request, in other words, whenever we just type a password in and it doesn't work and we don't really break anything, then this is what the baseline request looks like. This is the response, and this is the response length. In other words, there are 4,501 characters, and this is a status and whatnot. Now, if we ever actually logged in or generated an error, this length would probably be different because it would either take us to a new page, or instead of this, generic text which said invalid user credentials, it might spit out like a SQL error or some kind of other weird server error. So what you always want to do is you want to look in this length column and see if anything is different. Now for this example, it was not, because like I said, this is our website and we already know that the password, what was it, is bug. Let me hop back in here, and we did not test the password bug. So let me show you guys what happens when you actually do hit. So go back in Burp, and I'm going to clear this list, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to select 3-letter words. Now I know that the word bug is in here. If I can find it. Where are you at? Right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to run through this list of 3-letter words, and the word bug is in this one. So whenever it hits this, it's going to give us a different response. So now I'm going to start my attack again. And okay, it finished running. Let's just go ahead and browse this data, see if anything's weird. And look at that. This one right here, it was a little different than the rest. Its length was 578, and every other one was 4,501. So let me just click this and see what's going on. Now if we scroll up, we can see that whenever we use bug for the password, then this is a response. Instead of giving us all that source code and it says like invalid user credentials, whatever it said, it now set a session ID and it redirected us to portal.php, which is the admin portal. Pretty stinking awesome. So that is how you would crack a password. Again, usually you don't just have one list of passwords and you try it and it works. It usually takes a long time, and the good thing is a lot of people actually use a lot of these stupid default passwords, so it makes it really easy for hackers. But there you go. And also, one other thing I want to show you, if you ever want to use something like cross-site scripting injections instead of just cracking passwords, or like I said, these are just the common ones, SQL injections, a bunch of different types of injections, then there you go. But again, that is the basics of how Intruder works, and how you can pretty much take a list and send a repetitive number, or in other words, keep attacking the server over and over again until you find some vulnerability. So in the next tutorial, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all of these options and show you guys just how powerful Intruder can actually be. So I'll see you then.